Hi everyone, welcome to this week. We're going to start learning the passive voice, which is sort of a new structure for verbs. So we'll go over kind of verbs in English and Latin, and then we'll look at stuff. Alright, so here is in English the difference between the active and the passive. And the primary difference is simply that in the active, the subject does the action, and in the passive, the subject receives the action. Excuse me. Alright, so we're just switching things around a little bit. So, someone cleans the office every day. The office is cleaned every day. A couple things to point out. The passive generally will involve a verb to be helping verb, and then an ed form of the verb. All right, so and then it can be the office has been cleaned, right? You can manipulate that helping verb to get different tenses and things like that, and that's the past, which you can see at the bottom. But that's the basic difference between the active and the passive. Then the active, the subject does the action. In the passive, the subject receives the action. All right, so here, of course, are your active personal endings, right? These are the ones we already know. All right, so OST, mustis, und, those are our active endings. And then these are the new endings you'll have to learn for the passive. All right, so ar, ris, tor, more, mini, untor. And they work the same way. Each of them corresponds to a subject, and the same subjects in order. So ar is I, ris is you, tor is he, she, it, more is we, mini is you all, and entor is they. So everything in terms of interpreting the verb will be the same. Endings mean subjects. The tense signs will be the same. You're just using the passive endings instead of the active endings, and when you translate, the subject will receive the action, doing the action. All right, and so here is the present tense done out in the passive, and you can see that it's pretty similar. All right, the big difference is in the first person, the R gets added to that form rather than the form being replaced by it. Excuse me, otherwise the endings are replaced. So portor, portaris, portator, portamor, portamini, portantor. And that's first conjugation, and they will be the same, just with different characteristic vowels. And of course, second conjugation, third IO, and fourth. So pretty much everything is the same. The one thing to watch out for, and this is only really when you're going English or Latin, but the Romans didn't like that IR sound, that iris sound. So if in third IO, there's that IRIS, that I softens to an E. So instead of poniris, which it would be technically, it becomes poneris. It doesn't happen in the fourth conjugation because it's a long I, so it's poniris, which they're okay with. All right, fairly rare, but something to keep in mind. All right, and here's the imperfect. Again, same thing. We're still using that BA to indicate the imperfect, and then we're using the passive endings instead of the active endings. Conjugation, and then here are other conjugations. But again, there's our tense sign BA that we're familiar with, right? Fourth conjugation over here. Oh, sorry, those are the active ones. Fourth conjugation here. All right. All right, and finally, the future. So again, for first and second, we're using that BI. All the changes that were used to take place, right? So this same thing, the R gets added to the existing form. Here's that I to E change because we've got an IRIS. All right, so again, just little things to watch out for, but otherwise same. And here are the rest of the conjugations. Obviously for third IO, and fourth, we make the future the same way. So the A and the E, all right, for third IO and fourth, IE. So everything's the same, it's just the endings are different, and of course the translation is going to be different. All right, so here's a little exercise. All right, so you got your verb, you're identifying the tense, all right, what voice it is, and then you're translating it. So if you look at the example here, all right, well, we tor is present tense, it's passive because of that tor ending, and then you're translating it. So in the first one, spectamus, all right, oops, sorry about that. Present, it's going to be active because of that must. And just in case I didn't say it, voice is what we're talking about here. So voice is that thing that is active and passive. Voice basically indicates the relationship between the subject and the verb, whether the subject does the action or receives the action. And then translate it, we watch. All right, if I go to number 2. All right, so it's future because of that E. It's passive because of that tor. All right, and then it will be dragged. All right, you can hear in the English how with the passive, that subject, it, is receiving the action, right? So it will be dragged. It drags is the active because it's doing the dragging. It will be dragged is the passive. All right, so good practice with the rest of those. I'll leave those for you. All right, here come the answers, so heads up. All right, and there are the answers to 1 to 8. All right, so now we're choosing the correct Latin for the English at the left. So let's start with the first one because I think we can figure that out from the last exercise. So just to go through the other ones, untor, passive. All right, but that is present with the U. Ator, all right, future, passive, so far so good, but that's singular instead of plural, so it's he, she, it instead of they. And then entor, right, that's our future with the E, and then third person plural. So that's our correct answer. All right, how about number 2? All right, so I am born. So present, passive. All right, so that's what we have there. Let's make sure the other ones. So first person, but that is future, and first person, but that is active. So that's our correct one. All right, so here come the answer. Pause if you need to, want to. All right, and there they are. All right, so let's take a look at this week's summative. All right, so similar to the exercise before, we're identifying person, number, tense, voice, and then we're translating. So for number 1, second person plural, imperfect, passive. All right, so mini, that's our second person plural, that's a passive ending, and of course the BA tells us it's imperfect. So you all were being placed. I'm gonna run out of room. Placed. All right. Let's skip to let's do number 2 actually. All right, so third, singular, present, passive. So it is taught. And I'll do number 3 as well. So third, plural, future, passive. And this is where conjugation becomes so important because dokeo is second conjugation and winko is third conjugation. The E for number 2 is present. The E for number 3 is future. All right, so they are, see, I just did it. They will be conquered. All right, so I'll leave the 2. Here's the writing. All right, so you're taking the first form and you're making it the tense in parentheses. So for the imperfect, we're obviously just adding a BA. So spectabamor. And for this future, because it's third conjugation, we're changing that to an A, legar. All right, and then down here, we're just translating the underlined words into Latin. So the kept being is imperfect. So walwo is roll. So walwebator. All right, and then you will be placed. So poneris. All right, now I'll leave the rest to you. So that's it for this week. I'll be here next week. Please email me if you have any questions. Thanks.